I call to order this regular select board meeting for Thursday, April 27th, 2023. It is 6 p.m. Are there adjustments to the agenda?
None for me.
There is one thing I wanted to talk about. It was regarding the Underhill Center post office and our posting place, our official posting place. If we could just stick that on the agenda, it's kind of important.
For your
We could do it in my
updates?
Sure.
Okay, we can do that. We will include that along with the warned agenda. So we have an opening public comment period. Is there anyone who wants to make a public comment at the opening? Seeing none, we move on to the first item on the agenda, the planning subgrant agreement between the town and the Underhill United Church of Underhill. And Dan Mance is here. Please introduce yourselves for the public record and
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Dan Mans from the United Church of Underhill. I live out on Pleasant Valley Road.
And I am Dave Clift, also with the United Church of Underhill, and I reside in Jericho.
So I thought that Dan could come in and just gonna give us a refresh. So the subgrant agreement is for the planning grant. This is the last stage of the planning grant. So we were awarded $50,000 to help the church, or the church was awarded $50,000. We're the pass-through for those funds. And this is the final stage in it's called the subgrant agreement, which basically creates some guarantees and some protection for the town and for the church. And our attorney has reviewed this document and been in this document was prepared by the church's attorney, who specializes in planning grants or in grants of this nature with community housing development. Our attorneys looked at it. They're in agreement. If basically you would authorize me to sign this agreement, we would send it back to our attorney, and then he would issue an opinion of title. And then basically that's the last stage we have, and then the planning grant funds can be released. But I thought maybe it would be good just to kind of go over like the entire steps of where or how this is all going to go as far as the environmental review release and the $200,000 with the Sanders grant, or the Sanders money, HUD money, and then what the church's role in the whole thing is up until Habitat takes over, so everybody kind of understands maybe.
Got it. Good. Thanks. And that was
Dan, it would be helpful to tee it up for somebody, let's say somebody who's never heard of this grant, just tee up just conceptually what we're looking at.
Right.
Just for the record.
There's a lot of verbiage in the packet today, and it's helpful to me that attorneys have eyeballed it and approved it, and ours has gone over it too. And but your explanation for the public record will be very welcome.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you folks in the town about this Harvest Crossing project. At the core of this, we're hoping to build some affordable homes. United Church of Underhill is looking at buying this parcel of property behind the church, doing the necessary infrastructure improvements and getting the permits and a subdivision plan through the Development Review Board and all of that, at which point we would turn the project over essentially to Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity. We would sell lots to them to actually build the homes. And then they would manage the construction process for the homes and the sale of those. And by their process, the homes remain perpetually affordable, that if someone qualifies, has an income level that qualifies for them to purchase one of the homes, when they go to sell it, there's a division of the anticipated appreciated value of the home between the homeowner and Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity, so that Green Mountain Habitat could buy it back and resell it again to someone and keep it perpetually affordable that way.
Or so the homes, once the homeowner purchases it, it's not like they have free reign to sell it on the market.
They do in fact have free reign to, well, the home gets evaluated when they go to sell it. It gets evaluated for market value, and they've agreed in advance to resell it at market value, with this 50% adjustment for appreciation back to Green Mountain Habitat. So you're correct. They don't sell it per se on the open market.
But they get to keep the profit, so to speak.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's fair.
Hopefully is a way of folks building equity in a home and being able to buy a better, larger, home, or if they get transferred and have to move somewhere, they take the equity that they have in the house with them. So how do we get here? Wow, what a long process. So we started out, we applied for, and the town technically received this $50,000 planning grant. The town agreed to subgrant the money to the church. This is what enables us to do an environmental assessment, wetlands delineation, an archaeological assessment, legal work for when we get to closing, other planning related expenses that get us to the point of being ready to implement and actually start work on doing the infrastructure, putting a road in, bringing utilities in, getting water in, all of that kind of thing. So the town got this $50,000 grant. We had to accomplish some work before the reimbursement can come from the state. The grant was from the Vermont Department of Community Development. And so we completed all the necessary steps to begin reimbursement. And this final step is this subgrant agreement between the town and the church. Brad gave a pretty good explanation of that, but I think as I read the thing, the bulk of what it says is, look, the town gets this grant money, but because you're subgranting it to the church, the town really can't be held responsible if we were to pick a unqualified contractor to do the archaeological assessment or something like that. If we make a mistake, we spend the money on something that can't be reimbursed, we make some other error in the management of this process. Basically, the way I read this thing, it says the church is responsible, not the town. Is pretty much the way it works, which I think is both reasonable and fair in this, because again, the town isn't managing this grant, the church is managing the thing. So I think it's a reasonable requirement. The Vermont Community Development Program wants an opinion from the town's attorney that this subgrant agreement is adequate and appropriate. And that's why the town's attorney has been involved. We have an attorney who's helping us with the real estate transaction of this thing, but we had to get a specialized attorney, a different one, to help us with the creation of this subgrant agreement. So we found a lawyer in St. Johnsbury that specializes in this stuff, and she helped us put the verbiage together in a way that would meet the requirements of the Vermont Community Development Program and also hopefully pass muster with the town. She's been working back and forth thus far with the town attorney. They've got the basic language that's in place. Okay.
So the cost of this attorney oversight is covered by the grant.
Correct.
Then too.
Correct. Yeah, we'll be able to be reimbursed for the lawyer time on this.
And the town attorney as well.
And the town attorney, we could reimburse the town's cost on that too. Correct.
That's good.
So yeah, hopefully
That's good for people
this
to know.
doesn't cost anybody out of pocket, any real money. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, the good news is that we have just finished, we are just now finishing what is called an environmental review release. This is where all of this other work we've been doing, the environmental assessment, the archaeological assessment, the wetlands delineation, all of these other things get culminated in this environmental review. And that document enables us to go forward and apply again to the Vermont Community Development Program for an implementation grant. We can apply for a grant that would enable us to actually build the roads and put in the septic systems and start doing stuff to prepare these lots for sale to Habitat for Humanity. We have to have this environmental review release. We also, along the way, were awarded $200,000 of HUD money, which requires the same exact environmental review release. So we have $200,000 of HUD money pending on this environmental review release. We have the opportunity to apply for additional implementation grant funding, also dependent on this environmental review release. And the environmental review release is the very final step we need to be eligible to actually purchase the property from Phil Jacobs and remain eligible to apply for the implementation grant, get the HUD money and all of that. So we're right at the cusp right now. We have about another 12 days or something.
12 to 13 days.
Yeah, somewhere in there in a period where folks can make comments to HUD directly about this. But we've already been through a 15-day period here where people could have made comments to the town. No comments were forthcoming to the town. So it now kicks back to HUD, or actually I guess to the Vermont Community Development Program, who would receive any additional comments about it. So the good news on this thing, what's the good news? Well, start with the bad news. Bad news is, wow, I'm telling you, developing real estate in Vermont is way more complicated than I ever plausibly imagined it was going to be. We started this project 3 years ago, and we thought, we'll get this done in a year. So no, there's no way. And we got a ways to go yet before we're really out of the woods. So, that's kind of the bad news, is it takes a lot of time, and wow, we're learning about a lot of things that I never even knew I needed to know about. Okay. But, the good news is the part that you would think might have been the most challenging about this, we don't have it in hand yet, but the money is coming together. We've made application to the town for ARPA funds, and that was favorably recommended by the committee. The church has raised about $90,000 in donations on its own. We got $200,000 of Bernie money that's coming in with HUD. We think we have the opportunity, will have the opportunity to apply for this additional implementation grant, which might be another couple of $100,000. All of this, we think, is going to come together in a way that's going to leave us enough resources to do the development of this property and be able to sell these lots to Habitat at a very affordable cost. We're a church. Our preference would be raise enough money that we could give the lots to Habitat for Humanity and they could put more money into the houses. We're probably not going to get to that point exactly, but we think we're going to be able to sell these lots at a very affordable price for Habitat. which is going to enable them to build very reasonable homes there. And we think at the end of the day, this project works towards a step in the town plan. It fits with the town housing study that identified a need for affordable homes. The location is adjacent to a village center. People are going to be able to walk to the post office, the bank, the grocery store, the schools. There's a lot about this space that is right. And we continue to be very excited about it. And we really appreciate the town's partnership in this. I mean, we had to come to you folks and get the okay to apply for the planning grant. I mean, in the end, it's your grant. It had to come to the town. So we thank you for partnering with us on that. I cannot begin to tell you how helpful town staff, Brad and Jen in particular, have been. This guy was a surveyor. He knows how a lot of these property transactions happen. And when we get befuddled with the language and all that, Brad's been very helpful to us in understanding some of this. So it's been a great partnership thus far. And, we're probably a couple of years away from seeing houses out there, but we think we'll get it done.
So how many lots are you hoping for? Don't you know that yet?
We're hoping to have 7 home lots, which one of them would be a duplex and the others would be single family homes. So we're hoping to get 8 homes, 8 living places in there. The homes would be clustered up towards the fire department end is where we can build and not encroach on wetlands. That's one of the areas. A lot of the property back there is wetlands. And so this will be part of a planned urban development is the term, a PUD is what they call it. So the homes will be clustered on essentially 1/4 to 1/3 acre lots, and it will keep most of the rest of the field open. And because it's wetlands, technically it's wetlands, it's not underwater all the time. But people use that property today. Phil Jacobs has been very generous over time for walking their dogs and flying their kites and having a picnic out there. And our hope is to keep a lot of the property open and enable that same kind of thing to continue to happen. The property will be owned by the homeowners in these houses that ultimately get built. It'll be common property for them, but our hope is that it will remain open for public use.
And it should be noted how this benefits the town, because given the fact that they are homes, they will be paying taxes.
That is true.
And this is tax revenue that does not exist right now in that area.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. We talked to a lot of people along the way about this, and I'm sure we're going to get a chance to talk to many more people as we go forward in the project. But we had Matt Champlin, the fire chief, with us looking at some preliminary sketch plans and trying to make sure that the road design would meet the fire department's requirements and how many hydrants would we need and all of that kind of thing. Talking to him about that and there. But he said, we're actually very excited about this, because he said, we get 7 new homes here, 8 residences adjacent to our fire station. Those are people we could recruit to be volunteers on the fire department.
That would be.
I mean, you chuckle about that. He's dead serious about that. And the David Mullen, who attends our planning meetings from Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity, he turned that around and he said, Chief, he said, you might have volunteers in your department that would income qualify to own these homes today. And he said, that might be another consideration in this. So there's many, many ways that I think this thing can benefit the town. I think will be a positive addition to our community going forward.
So they'll be on the water district.
Yep.
And what about septic?
We're gonna have on-site septic, and it turns out we had some initial test pits dug, and it turns out there's a couple of areas in there that are relatively ideal for septic, and that we're not going to have to put mound systems in. They're going to be we're going to have to go a little deeper to get down to gravel, but they're going to be conventional septic systems in there.
Very good.
So
I have a quick question, Dan, just so this environmental review release, we had a 15-day comment period, as Dan was saying. It was on our website, it was posted about town. There was a legal notice in the paper. The next 15 days, and I know it's not germane to the subgrant agreement, but the next 15 days you said it was a HUD. So I'm assuming that that's not something that we need to do anything with, correct?
No, you're correct.
Okay. So
that is my understanding, that
right.
Anybody who makes a comment going forward right now, it goes to the Vermont Community Development Program. And the Vermont Community Development Program is acting as HUD's agent in this.
The only reason I say that is because on our website it says, please comment by April, whatever it was, a few days ago.
Right.
I don't know if I should.
We actually think we could take it down now.
Okay. So so it's totally up to
Town
HUD
part's done. It's now
all
their
HUD.
issue. Right.
Okay. So they'll notice it or whatever.
Do whatever they do.
The same thing. Okay. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
So actually our attorney drafted a motion if you wanted to.
I don't have any other questions.
I have several.
Okay.
This is a great project, but I'm going to ask the questions as my fiduciary role.
Sure. Absolutely. Please.
What is the public comment period for any land abutters or anybody that wanted to make a comment about this project?
This project will need to go through the Development Review Board process, just like any other subdivision. We will be bringing a sketch plan. Okay. We'll have, permit requirements to satisfy. Some of those have comment periods, I think.
There'll be 3 steps. There'll be a sketch plan review, there'll be a preliminary plan review, and there may be a final plan review or 2. There'll probably be at least a minimum of 3 meetings where every abutter gets warned, certified mail. This is in the last stage, so we've already, the environmental review release, we got off topic a little bit, but that was warned if anybody had any environmental concerns about the environmental review release. So, and we've already committed to this grant. So we're at the very final stage here of.
I just want to, the public process.
So this is only for the planning grant aspect of it, right? And this is basically, I think the church has probably almost incurred $50,000.
I don't think we're quite at 50, but we're close. We're getting there. Yeah.
So basically what's going to happen is once the subgrant agreement is authorized, they can get reimbursed for what they've spent already. Right. And then going forward, as far as the development process, that will be it'll just like any other subdivision.
Okay. In reading through the grant document that is in front of us today for signature, it's pretty detailed as to things that you guys all have to do, guys and gals, hopefully, have to do to manage this grant. And who at the church is it Dan? Are you managing it? You're in charge of making sure all the eyes.
We're the two.
We're the 2 lead.
Okay.
So the one, sorry, go ahead. Finish.
So the reason I asked that question is in this agreement, it says item 5, the grantee may be required to reimburse the agency for all of a portion of the grants if you're not following all the rules and procedures, you don't check all the boxes. So there is a risk to the town here. And I've asked that question in February when we signed that agreement back then. So there is some risk to the town if it was not managed properly, that we could have a horse in the race. We could have some financial obligation. How are you going to carry this out in a manner that protects the town. And Brad, you may be able to respond from the attorney's letter of opinion, what the town's risks are as part of this grant. And this isn't meant to be accusatory in any way.
No.
I'm asking that question as a fiduciary of the town and what our financial obligations, if something went south and bad.
So
the state has a very detailed process. They have a program called Gears. I'm part of that program. Brad's part of that program. We work together to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the I's
necessary
are dotted.
documentation
and so forth is taken care of, so that we're not falling behind in our requirements with the Vermont Community
And
Development.
Brad, are you going to check in on their, as they follow through on the grant, do you check over?
I authorize everything. So they upload things into Gears.
Okay.
I review it. And what you need to remember is this is all being under the guidance of Vermont Community Development. So they're going to throw up the flag if something, and at this stage, we're just talking about $50,000 planning grant. We're not talking about implementation or buying the property. So really, we're on the hook right now for $50,000 if it all fell apart. But this agreement also, as I understood it, basically says if something does go wrong, the church is responsible.
Yeah.
Where can you show me that in this agreement?
Well, let's see.
I read that section. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting that we do have a.
So what section were you reading? 5, you said?
Section 5. And it says. if
Number
the
5
agency-
or I don't see it.
Section, in terms of the subgrant, section 5, paragraph C. And before that, paragraph B, the subgrantee stands in the shoes of the grantee. So you as the church will stand in our shoes.
Right.
All requirements of federal and state laws and regulations, procedures that apply to the grantee shall apply to the subgrantee. So you
Right.
have to carry out.
That's right.
It's very specific, and I read the whole thing, and I'm like, wow, this is really elaborate.
Yeah.
And then it says if the agency determines and informs the grantee in writing that the subgrantee has not achieved the national objective, which is you put forward, here's what we're going to do, and has little likelihood of doing so, and that therefore a grantee may be required to reimburse the agency. So we do have a
So
risk.
one of the other parts about this to understand.
Yeah, but there's another, as I'm reading it, the subgrantee shall indemnify and hold grantee harmless from any and all liability to the agency or Vermont Community Development Program, including responsibility for reimbursing the agency such sums as may be determined or required to be reimbursed to the agency. So basically, this is kind of that statement right there, it's basically a hold harmless.
Right, but it's one of those, if somebody tries to squeeze that lemon and there's nothing coming out of it, they're going to come running back after the town and they'll squeeze us. That's just the way the world and litigation works. So if something were to go really afoul, we do have some very small risk in it. I just want to make sure that we have a check and balance as things move along, that we're keeping touch with the project. Brad, if you're checking in on the Gears program and checking the boxes too, that the church has done X, Y, and Z as part of this agreement, because it's very specific as to all the things you have to do. There's hiring requirements.
That's right.
There's contractor requirements.
So before we even
elaborate.
hired a consultant,
Right.
they had to check all these boxes, right? They needed professional liability. They need to have a Duns and Bradstreet number. They need to be registered to do business here, all of those things. And we haven't seen any request for reimbursements yet. But as with any grant, I want to see detailed invoices. I want to see the work that was prepared by those invoices and some sort of a certification from those consultants.
So we won't pay until the
We don't
boxes
pay.
are essentially checked that
Correct.
So
this
we-
is proceeded according to the steps and the rules of this agreement.
So we already have taken on the responsibility of ensuring that the people that have done work for us are paid. So we are already doing that work. And so when we request the reimbursements, Brad will get all of the documentation that he requires before he makes a submittal to the Vermont Community Development folks for funds to be reimbursed.
So basically
So
these,
there's no money coming from the town. If the Vermont Community Development Program needs money back, it's only because one of the boxes weren't checked. And that's the process that we're going to undertake as soon as we are allowed to start drawing down the funds, which this is the last step.
So
to doing
maybe
that.
I'm a little confused.
So
Do we hold the 50,000?
no, the Vermont Community Development holds the 50,000.
Okay.
They have spent almost 50,000 out of their own pockets for all of this work. So really, it's almost all done.
Yeah.
The way I see it, it's almost going to be a 1 or 2 reimbursements, and we're closed out the grant.
But Vermont Community Development will issue those funds.
They'll issue it to the town.
Once. Okay.
the town.
Okay, that's what comes through to the town.
Through the town.
Who does the check that you've done all the boxes that you had to do?
I do.
He
Well,
does,
we do it
and,
together.
and Vermont Community
Community
Development.
Development.
They're
Yeah.
not going to release the money until
those
they're
boxes.
We
satisfied.
have two
that-
layers of check and balance.
We have even more than that, probably. Yeah,
They do.
there's
but
just,
ours are, yeah.
and they're used to doing this all the time. And it's like, it's going to be very detailed. They're not going to just say, somebody throws willy-nilly an invoice. We need to see, I'm really fussy and I know what this type of work costs. I want to see proof of what's been done,
Okay.
you
all
know?
right.
Yeah, and I think, back to sort of the root of your question, part of the biggest protection for the town is that we have to spend the money up front. This is a reimbursement to us.
Exactly.
The town never puts a dime out
Until it's after the
until
fact.
it's after the fact and until everything's been submitted
Okay.
and everything's been approved. So if there's a holdup, we submit something. I mean, imagine this. We submit an invoice. It goes in, gets entered into Gears. Brad says, okay, checks it off, sends it off to Vermont Community Development. Vermont Community Development says, no, not okay. Okay. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that happens? Was the town out a dime on that? No, we're out the dime, you see, because we spent the money. I mean, if it falls apart, we're the ones that are not going to get reimbursed. So we're very careful on the front end about making sure everything we spend money on meets the grant requirements and will be eligible for reimbursement.
Let me just finish this last thing. So the subgrantees covenants, what they've coveted in 2, basically the subgrantee shall comply with all the requirements, of the grant, but then the insurance is for a period beginning with the execution of the subgrant agreement and continuing for at least 5 years after the completion date, the subgrantee shall take out, pay for, and keep in full force insurance on the collateral against such risks, in such amounts, with such insurance carrier, and with such loss payable clause as shall be satisfactory to the guarantee, or to the grantee, who's us, and shall furnish the grantee with the satisfactory evidence of such insurance. So, again, I don't think our attorneys would let us enter an agreement that they were not comfortable we were fully protected. But that's what the opinion letter is going to
Right, and that's what the opinion letter is going to say, and that's why, I mean, again, just to show you how conservative this is, that's why Vermont Community Development requires the town's attorney to issue this opinion letter so that, you're getting legal opinion. We're not sitting here looking at this thing trying to discern what it really does or doesn't say.
And that's not in the packet, Brad? Is that something that we see eventually?
Yeah, so this has to be authorized first. Then once our attorney has received this, that both parties, it's almost like a closing and a title opinion sort of thing, So once this is authorized, then we get the opinion. None of this can go forward until the grant agreement and the opinion have been uploaded onto the state portal.
Will we see the opinion letter?
Yeah, I
before-
think, definitely forward that to you,
Okay.
for sure.
I would like to see that.
Oh, yeah,
just to
for
see
sure.
what is said.
And I'm not sure if how that works. It just seems a little odd that they're issuing the opinion letter after it's signed.
Right.
But I think what they need to know is make sure
that both signatures are in
right
place.
are in place.
Because
that's what it requires to be executed.
Right.
So our attorney, David Rue, Sitzel, Page and Fletcher, works on these often. So, so I guess this is
that's very helpful. Again, I'm asking these questions. Just
it's all reasonable stuff.
Yeah.
All reasonable stuff. And, I mean, this is how we need to make sure the business is in order.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to authorize this signed, and then at the next meeting or something, if you'd want to review the legal opinion, that would be, there's no way that
you can't pull it back after you sign it, though, right?
Sure. Well, no, I wouldn't think so. I'm not quite sure why the legal opinion gets issued after the fact, but that's the way it works.
These are excellent discussion to just check those boxes and.
I suspect the reason that you may get the legal opinion after the fact is so that your attorney looks at the final version and make sure that we didn't all get together and change something. Yes, he wants to make sure that the version he sent you to say, yeah, this is okay to authorize, is actually the version that gets signed. And then,
but I guess, and going forward, David Rue did explain to me that since this is a planning grant for not a whole lot of money, $50,000, implementation grants for more money get a lot more serious. So it's a lot more in depth. There'll be another subgrant agreement if we go that route. So these are pretty standard, as he pointed out. And Dan does have the email with the motion. Maybe you want to pass that over to Patty to have him read. It's just what he sent to me.
Yeah, I'm happy with this discussion. This checks all the boxes for me. Thank you.
I feel comfortable because they've already paid for the,
they
paid for the work. And I'm certainly confident that Vermont Community Development wouldn't reimburse, if you just showed up with an invoice and no product or anything,
right.
They're not going to support releasing the funds.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all set.
Would you like to make the motion?
Yep, I will. I'm happy to do that. I move that we approve what is the acronym?
Vermont Community Development
Program, subgrant agreement with the United Church of Underhill, and authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement on the town's behalf.
I will second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The
Unfortunately,
motion
I have
passes
Okay,
2-0.
And I'm just gonna, if you're okay with that, I'd just like to sign it here because I'm off tomorrow and I'd like to get it to the attorney just as quick as we can, and then we can get the opinion letter.
You need to sign it, and Dave Cliff needs to sign it too. So then it's ready to go back to the attorney.
Thank you all for all your work on this.
Yeah.
It's been a
countless
learning.
3 years you've been just planning before you put a shovel in the ground.
Like your
we talked
attentiveness
about
to detail.
The 27th.
We talked about this at one of our planning meetings the other day and said, we asked our planning team, does everybody still feel like you want to keep working on this? Because it's been a long time and maybe we need to recruit some other people or something. And to a person, everybody said, you know what, we're more committed to this thing now after 3 years than we were when we started. That I think the learning has been such for us that we really do see the need and feel like this is important to get done.
And the permit process is very complex.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's super complex to build anything like of this magnitude in the state.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Right.
That way we're
That's
not, throwing up buildings mamby-pamby, and
That's right.
it's vetted and reviewed, and
Right, there's a ton of them, you know, I mean, there's wastewater permits, and we're gonna have to get a permit from the Agency of Transportation about road access on the Route 15. I mean, there's many pieces along the way.
I'll take the first part back, so we don't, I just wanted to show you that was dated today. I don't think there's anything else there. So executed just as it appeared in the packet.
Excellent.
Very good.
We apologize for taking as much time on
No, no,
this.
no.
Well, we asked for some detail, so
Yeah, any questions for you?
it was good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Since Alan Morris is here, it would be all right to go out of order a little bit, Dan, and do the
Certainly.
emergency
Yeah,
management.
because we're behind, and that would be good.
just,
This
yeah.
hot seat?
Yeah.
Good evening.
Hello.
Alan Morris, I'm here for discussions about the Memorial Day Parade. In the past, Richard Becker has always coordinated all of these efforts and activities required to make the parade happen, and he's always been asking for some assistance. So this year, another fellow and I, the other fellow being Kevin Hawley, who you've probably seen down at Ace Hardware, even if you don't know who he is. He and I are assisting Richard. So my purpose for tonight is threefold. The first part is I'm requesting the closure of Park Street on Monday, May 29th, which is Memorial Day, for the parade to proceed from Browns River Middle School up to River Road, and then up River Road to Park Street, down Park Street to the park in front of the church. In association with that, we need electricity for the audio equipment that our speaker will be using that day. And that access to the electricity is in the direction, or is controlled by the church, even though it's out there on the town's park, it's there for Harvest Market. So we need to, they will get that turned on, get it turned off, and then there will be a charge for whatever electricity is used. And the third item is we are using a more substantial audio equipment this year from Super Sounds. And Grant Allendorf tells me that if he can be there, he will operate the sound equipment himself at no charge. If he can't, he will have to hire someone, and the charge will be $100. That's basically why I'm here this evening, for those three items.
So we do have money in the budget for Memorial Day. It's under, it's grouped up with a couple of things, but it's $200, I believe. It's what we budget, and that's to purchase flags for the veterans that goes on the grave. Usually Rachel, Becker, and Richard purchase those, and we reimburse them every year.
Wouldn't River Road need to be closed as well?
That's a Jericho thing.
I went to the Jericho Select Board last week.
Okay, so that's right.
They approved the closing of River Road from Browns River up to Park Street. And that will be a short duration, so the people in Underhill Center, because there's no other way to get out of town basically, that will just be closed for probably an hour until the parade can move past that location, and then River Road will be opened back up again. And-
There's signage that can be hung out and posted, right? Warning people about that?
My hearing is not letting me.
He asked if there were signs warning people that that's going to happen.
I have prepared a sign that I'm going to put up at the cemetery, probably tomorrow, if I get the approval tonight, to give that month to tell people that, hey, this is going to happen that day.
Very good.
Brad, do you know how much we approved last year for the parade?
It's the same every year.
It is?
It's really not the parade. We never approve any money for the parade because the fire department's in it and the veterans and who do you have who participates in the parade exactly?
Mount Mansfield Band, Essex Rescue, Underhill Jericho Fire, people from the military. We're hoping to attract some military vehicles so that veterans will be able to ride instead of march or walk if that's necessary. I've talked with the church about using their parking lot out back in the driveway for the parade to go around the church when it reaches the park. I guess that's it.
Are we being asked to fund anything? The
Well,
electricity and the super sounds?
No, just the super sounds, right? It's what you're asking for.
Yes.
If Grant can't make it there personally and do it himself,
Right.
he owns the company,
Right.
he would do it for free. But if he has to hire one of his guys, it's $100.
Typically, fire department brings its audio equipment, but their audio was made for a conference room. So when you get out there in the open spaces, there's really a lot of people can't hear. So we want to get more volume.
And who pays for the electric turn on and turn off and the usage for the day?
That's why I'm here tonight.
So it's both those things. It's both those things.
Yeah, but that'll be a pretty minimal. Did they say what it was to?
I don't know what the cost would be, but if
The bill goes to the church, correct?
the church told me that they would get it turned on and they would get it turned off, and they would produce an invoice once that had happened. So I have to believe it's quite minimal.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we approve spending for the electric and the super sounds up to 300. I'm assuming that would be enough.
Yeah, I would say 200 would probably be enough, but yeah.
But just up to 300, just in case we go over it.
Up to 300,
Up to 300.
but no more,
Oh,
just in case.
okay.
Gives you a little buffer in case.
He assured me that it would be no more than 100
Yep.
if he couldn't be there.
I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? Just a clarification. So the speaking and the ceremony will be held at the park there in front of the church and not right at the cemetery.
That's correct. As you know, previously it was always from the bank down to the cemetery in Jericho, and then the next year would be Clark's Truck Center to the cemetery on Park Street. And the state gave so much pushback of closing Route 15 that Richard has opted to have it always be from Browns River up to the park. That way it's a Jericho and an Underhill parade all in the same deal. It starts in Jericho, goes into Underhill, and then ends up in Underhill and Jericho.
That sounds like a good plan. Yeah, closing a state highway is a bigger deal.
We did it, I think the last time we did it was 2019, if I remember right, seeing the paperwork, and yeah, it's a complicated.
Yeah, so there's no state permit required with this. And I guess I would just add that Underhill Jericho Fire Department will close the two ends of Park Street by the park and River Road coming from Underhill Center and River Road on the Jericho side of Browns River. Once we've passed onto Park Street, that will open. They will maintain closing Park Street, Park Street, and Park Street.
And we can also draft something up for Front Porch Forum too, so people know. We could put out a couple notices and,
Makes sense.
and we could post it on the, Alan constructed a new board for where we post at Phil's store, the Jacobs Family Market. So we'll put it on the new board. So
I also
know.
put it in the Mountain Gazette. Is that the name of that? I know.
Yes.
So that's already been in there. And I'm going to contact Randy Clark and see if he can't, we'll put that on his electronic message board at Allegiance. So
Excellent.
hopefully the word is out there. I put up many posters around town. The only business that refused me was Dollar General, which is a company policy, so that's fine. But I think if you go most anywhere, you'll see my posters up.
Good, excellent.
Very good.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you.
This motion carries 2-0.
And it'd be nice to mention, recognize Richard Becker for all the years he's kind of.
Absolutely. And he's had quite a health issue this year. He's had,
Just some health issues, so
it's, usually if you get this around your body, he's got it on his face and his eyes. He almost lost sight of his eye. It's,
shingles?
shingles, yeah.
So best wishes to Richard and
Yeah.
thanks.
But I guess he's recovered, so I think it's fine. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Since we're out of order anyway, and
Yeah,
Barbara's
it's almost
here.
6:55 and that's your time anyway.
There we go.
And then we can clean up.
There we go. Exactly.
Hi.
Hello.
I know Dan. I'm not sure we've met.
I'm Patty Richards.
Patty. I'm Barbara Yerrick. I live out on Krug Road. And I have taken over coordinating the banner project around town. And I'm sure you're familiar with the banners that have been very popular and loved by the local people and visitors as well. And it's been a project that started at the 250th anniversary and has been spearheaded by Mary Hill, and she's kind of ready to just be an artist. And so what you might not know about the banners is that the project is funded by the Historical Society, and it's primarily a volunteer project. So the canvases come from old Boy Scout tents, and then they have to be cut, they have to be sewn to have pockets, they have to be primed and painted. And we've had a lot of involvement already this year with people making new banners. And so then the next part is the putting up and taking down. And that primarily has been done by one guy and his pickup truck with a ladder. And he drives his pickup truck, gets the ladder out, climbs up, puts the banner up, next pole. So it's, he wouldn't say this, but I would say it's probably a little arduous. It's time consuming. And my primary concern, and that of others, is that it's really unsafe, like particularly on Route 15. So that's what really brings me here tonight with a request to see if we might enlist the road crew in helping us put up and take down the banners. And my vision for that would be like, I'm not sure about the height of vehicles, but like either a dump truck or the pickup truck with all the banners and materials organized. And then we would just go from pole to pole and put them up. We might need some new hardware on a few poles. And geographically, the banners are up from just this side of Mountain Road, a number of them more clustered in the village, down River Road, then another cluster on Park Street, a few in the flats, and then I think they end you can confirm this for me, just before Poker Hill Road, before Roaring Brook. So geographically, it's not a huge area. So that's kind of our request, to see if, they might help us. I don't think it would be really time consuming. We would love to have their help. We'd make them cookies or lunch as a thank you. So
We've gotten compliments I get compliments all the time, and people from all over the state that travel through here, other town officials, and always asking like, wow, who does all that work, and they're beautiful. And
Yeah, the banners are great. I love them too. Totally love them. So tell me again, they go up in the spring and then they come down in the winter?
Well, we've been putting them up in May-ish and coming down in October, November, although we have a new design that has 2 poles, and you might see a few that are up, or especially going out River Road, I think there are 2. And that 2-pole design makes them more durable, so they don't need to come down. And our goal is to eventually have them all 2 poles. I did connect with the folks putting the new telephone poles up along River Road, and he said it would probably be a year before they're going to pull out the old ones. So what would we would do in that case, if they're coming up River Road to the center, is just not put any new ones up there, and just use the hardware that's there until they're ready to pull them out.
Okay, so you can move the hardware from the old pole to the new pole then? Do you have
Yes.
You got to get permission to use the poles, or?
So Rick Hay did that, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Who owns the poles? Is it GMP or? I'm actually shocked that they gave you permission. I used to work for an electric utility.
Well,
Really
GMP was.
Yeah. Surprised they gave permission. But
I think most all the poles you're dealing with GMP. When you get into rural areas, I think telephone company really controls the poles. But
it's probably because it's roadside and they can get to it with a bucket truck versus having to climb. That's probably why. But that's great that you have permission.
Yeah, and the man I talked to today was a GMP guy.
It was prohibitive because there's so many poles that the guys had to climb.
Yeah.
And it just gets in the way of all their stuff. Anyway, but has this been run through Nate to ask?
no, we can ask Nate. I'm sure they would, or Russ or Nate would. I'm sure they'd be willing to help.
Yeah, we haven't taken a motion or anything on it, but from my perspective, I think this is it's a great project. It's makes people smile when they drive in and out of town.
Yeah.
Makes our community feel warm and welcoming. I really appreciate all the work that's gone into it.
Thank you.
Maybe even slows down traffic. Who knows?
Could be common, yes.
There's no data on that, but
Yeah, well, I'm all about that.
I don't have any objection to that, but it would be, requesting. It's not like we micromanage what they do every day, but we could suggest that they put that on their job list.
When are you thinking?
Well, it would be great if we could get them up in May. And, I'm retired and pretty flexible. So, if they want to chisel out an hour or two one day or another day and, do this side and that, whatever would work for them. I think we could figure out how to make that work. So, anytime in the next month would be great.
Right.
I can talk to Nate about it and Russ.
Yeah, I would just caveat it. My support is absolutely there, but I would like to hear from the road crew to make sure there's no safety issues or that we understand completely what, their concerns might be, if any, again, if any.
Sure.
I concur with that. And I think with a consensus, we can just authorize Brad to talk to Nate and
We'll
figure it out.
And if there's no objection, then go forth and have them go ahead and do that.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you so much. How many banners? Oh, we have a lot of banners. Oh, we're up to about 70.
Excellent.
That's my job is to, in fact, I've been counting polls. I'm like, oh, we need more, but
Banner inventory.
yes, it's a lot of work, but yeah, so.
Well,
All right.
any chance you could think about some way to put a message out about slowing down as we come into town? That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm the woman who flashes her lights at people who are coming towards me speeding, and I wag my finger.
Nobody's hearing you, Kurt, unfortunately, but these guys are. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just a thought, a seed to plant or.
Yeah. Oh, I would be very happy to work on traffic calming measures.
Whoops. Yeah,
Thank you,
see what it
Barbara.
was for the record, but
Thank you
anyway.
very much.
Okay.
Love
Thank you.
Love them. The banners are great.
All right. Well, wait till you see some of the new ones.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Brad. I'll
Thanks.
see you next.
Next Thursday. So let's go back to the emergency management plan.
We can do that. Now we are looking at this plan, and this is something that we need to approve today.
Yes, well, it's due May 1st.
Right. And I think that it's unfortunate we don't have the emergency management director with us. But I think that he's reviewed it and even participated in its draft. And it was mainly, updating, making sure contact information is accurate.
Mostly, yes, that's what it is.
And so it doesn't really change a lot of what we do because it's a fairly standard thing from year to year.
It is, and I would say that you could move to approve it with a contingent on just Bob getting a set of eyes on it when he gets back Monday. And if there's any minor tweaks, they would be very minor. There wouldn't be anything about like moving the emergency shelters or anything. It would be
Right.
It would be either a typo or a all this the meat of the plan is not going to change at all.
Yeah, and it's the contact information. To have emergency management, you have to have accurate contact because it's an emergency.
So this is required by Vermont Emergency Management, has to be filed every year, May 1st. If we don't file it, then if a FEMA event happened, we would not be able to get the 10% match. So it's
I move that
pretty
we
important.
approve the plan as presented with the contingent that the emergency management director take a look at it.
Final review, yes.
Final review.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 2-0.
So the next thing is the letter I prepared for VTRANS. So if you remember back the Roy Drive incident, and I've been in contact with Joy Atherton, and she's kind of spearheading this effort. Lives in Westford, on the Westford side, off of Duffy Hill Road, which is a spur. It's kind of the road name for Westford off of Roy Drive. And I believe I did hear from the town administrator in Westford, Nanette, and she said that the Westford Selectboard would be drafting a letter as well in support. Joy did send me some accident data that VTRANS had sent her, and there's been quite a few accidents there. I have it here. I'd say between 2000, seems like in 2016 and 17, there were over a dozen accidents. And so I'd just like to read the letter that I proposed here.
Yeah, read it into the record.
So this is an address to Ernie Patno. So this is actually in District 8, this section of highway. So it's anything north of Underhill Station is in a different district than 5. So it's District 8. So it would go to St. Albans. I said, Dear Mr. Patno, the Underhill Select Board has received input from residents and non-residents who are concerned about site distance, the current speed limit posting, and the overall safety on Vermont Route 15 between North Underhill Station Road, mile marker 22975, and the Underhill Westford Town Line, mile marker 26106. Therefore, the Underhill Select Board respectfully requests VTRANS to conduct a speed safety study of this area and see if the speed limit can be reduced in order to improve safety.
Can I make a suggestion to
Sure.
your letter? The very last section, the last line where it starts, where it says, see if the speed limit, I would suggest we say, instead of see if, request the speed limit be reduced. And I can give you this wording.
Okay, so
Request the speed limit be reduced and or other measures be taken to improve sight lines entering and exiting Roy Drive, such as tree and brush clearing to improve safety.
I don't think we can say that. So that's the only thing we can comment, as far as I understand it from talking with Jim Coda in District 5, is speed limit.
We can't ask for brush.
Don't believe so, but we could.
I mean, I drove out there just to check it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, cut these trees.
Well, right, but
That would be partly up to the people on Roy Drive.
But I think the trees are in this Route 15 right away. And if there's any way we can plant the seed to trim the trees, I think that would, at least it would help.
So I'm more than happy to change the letter, but I need the verbiage of what you want to say. Therefore, the Underhill Select Board respectfully requests. So just like the Select Board,
Yeah.
the state of Vermont cannot lower a speed limit without doing a study, right?
Right.
So that's how it's law. That's
Right,
state law.
I realize, but I mean, I would be very direct and ask,
Okay.
we're requesting that they lower the speed limit. I know they have to do the speed
Okay,
study.
so
and all
you're
that.
saying if it said Underhill Select Board respectfully request VTRANS to lower the speed limit. To lower the speed limit.
And if you were comfortable with some other language added in there, I would add and or other measures taken to improve sight lines entering and exiting Roy Drive, such as tree and brush clearing to improve safety.
Yeah. So to lower the speed limit and or
Consider other measures to improve.
I think to conduct a speed safety study needs to be, remain in that sentence. I mean, obviously they're going to do that, but I don't know. I think it was.
I don't think we.
So how did Jericho handle the 25 mile an hour speed reduction?
I have no
across
idea.
from Jericho
Bob-
Tavern?
Bob
It happened
has-
very quickly,
Yeah,
and
Bob has said-
I
he's just said off the cuff, they just did it.
That's what I would have guessed, because the speed study that gets run there, I can't imagine it saying that 25 is the prevailing.
Yeah,
traffic
I
speed.
think that it probably, my guess would be that it would be questionable that it's enforceable.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
so-
Jim Coda did state that he did say in his email to me that, yeah, you should request just what you said, that the speed limit be reduced.
Just be very specific, not if, but we are
Yeah.
requesting it be
Yeah.
reduced and add in there the speed, do a speed study, but we are requesting the speed limit be reduced.
Or
regardless
so
of the
that it
speed
can be
study.
determined that the speed be reduced.
Right. That's up to them.
Right.
Yeah, and,
But-
and it's not like, we have, they're going to do it on the basis of the speed study, so you might want to link our request to that so that it can be determined that the speed be reduced.
So you're still advocating for keeping the speed study part in there?
Yeah,
That's what I hear.
I think that's important. And we don't want to tell them, we can't.
Well,
How
he
to do
did,
their business.
the only thing I will say is he worded it that way. He did say, I don't have that email in front of me, but he did say, you kind of have to tell VTRANS you want the speed limit reduced.
Just very much, I would say instead of using the word if, but specifically say, we are requesting it be reduced. And then add the speed.
I don't
study.
think the state's going to do what the state's going to do. Apparently it goes to this transportation board that meets quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
They review what's been submitted. They're going to look at the data, the 85th percentile data, all the data.
They're going to look at the accident rate.
They're going to look at the accident rate, and they're going to make the call. So
Yeah.
I guess, it's not going to hurt to say, we want you to lower the speed limit. I don't know. But it'd be nice I know she's very anxious. I get a lot of emails. Westford is ready to move on it.
Yeah, I absolutely support the letter. I would just do a little tweaks of that last sentence, and if you're comfortable adding in something about improving the sight line.
So therefore the Underhill Select Board respectfully requests VTRANS to lower the speed limit and or consider other measures. How about just leave it at that? Or consider other measures to improve the overall safety.
Right, because we're talking about a section of road, we're not just talking about Roy Drive.
Right.
Roy Drive is
It's
inclusive of that.
it's a package. That's why I said that Westford really needs to be involved. It's just not some magical line at the
Right,
town line. It's that whole section of roadway that needs to be looked at and or improved.
because that's where the accident history is located, and they'll look at that.
Do you have an objection to the tree brush clearing
So
suggestion?
our road has a similar problem, probably as bad as theirs on Mountain Vista where it comes out on Route 15. And I asked the state to go trim the trees back, and they said, well, we did back to the right of way, but we can't get the ones that are outside the right of way because it's on private property. And apparently they don't take it upon themselves to go talk to the landowner and say, would it be okay if we trimmed it back further? So I've had kind of a frustrating time dealing with our situation, which I think is equally bad to what is going on at Roy Drive, because we have probably half the sight line that we should have for a 50-mile-an-hour road.
I would say yours is a more dangerous.
Yeah. I know Nate
there
has all sorts of problems when he goes to leave our road because traffic's coming 50-plus miles an hour out of the north side from Cambridge, and he's trying to turn onto 15, and he can't see very far at all.
Brad, do you feel the trees are outside the state's right away?
They're close. They're on a ledge, and I think the ledge, the top cut of the ledge is probably right on the right of way line. Yep. You saw the ledge on the left. Yeah. I'd say I did look at the right of way plans. I pulled them. They're from the 30s. There's not a lot of right of way there, but that's really up to them. I think, I'll just read it again. Therefore, the Underhill Select Board respectfully requests VTRANS to lower the speed limit and or consider other measures to improve the overall safety. I don't know.
I'm fine with that.
I support that with a motion.
Okay. I can
So
actually before.
Okay, I'll second that.
So before we leave, I can go down and just tweak the document, and then the way you can sign it, and then Bob, because I have all three of your signatures here.
Correct.
Are you asking them to move the ledge as
Aye.
well?
The motion carries 2-0. Thank you, Brad. I will.
That would be,
Be Herculean to blast the ledge out.
So let's see. It's 7:14. And we're at the, so we've got some board and commission appointments. We can do the committee appointments. Basically, we have 3 Energy Committee members up for reappointment, and they're all willing to re-up for reappointment. Michael Lamond for a 3-year reappointment, Dwight DeCoster for a 3-year appointment, and John Boyson for a 3-year reappointment.
I move that we reappoint those 3 individuals, Michael Amon, Dwight DeCoster, John Boyson, for 3-year appointments to the Energy Committee.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
And I thank them for their service.
Yes, thank you. They're coming back for more. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. They are reappointed by unanimous vote.
So the next thing is the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission is the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC. Nick is our current representative, and I've prepared the document. He's willing to do it again. We tried to get someone from the Planning Commission to be an alternate, but there was no interest. So,
Do we need to have an alternate?
no.
Okay. I move that we approve the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission appointment of Nick Atherton to the Planning Advisory Committee for 2-year term.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 2-0.
Okay, and now we're up to town administrator updates. I'll just go through in order, Kurt, if you don't mind. But Green Up Day, let me just read a little something about it. So I put it on Front Porch Forum for April 20th, and then I reposted. I will repost it Monday or maybe possibly tomorrow. But basically what I posted is that this year's Green Up Day is Saturday, May 6th. Bags are available now. You can start cleanup early. The garage will be open on 75 New Road between, is it 77 or 75? Anyway, people know where the town garage is, between the hours of 9 and 2. So, and I've got Nate Guay furnished the dumpsters last year. So we can use the community or the Chittenden Solid Waste District Community Fund. We have $5,000 in it. And if we don't use it, we get, I'm not sure how much we get each year, Dan. I think it's either 500 or 1,000 each year. But if it's capped at 5,000, so we need to, it's important to use it or lose it. So last year we authorized up to $1,000 for the dumpsters, but they only came in at 500. So I guess I'm asking if you would authorize the use of those funds and $500 for Green Up Day. And also we need approval from the 2 district representatives. Dan's one of them. Paul Roos is the other. And Paul Roos has emailed saying he's in favor of using those funds for that. And if Dan is.
I certainly am.
Mm-hmm. Right, I move that we request, how much do you want us to request? 5,000?
500.
500. 500 from the Chittenden Solid Waste District Community Fund for Underhill's Green Up Day use.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 2-0.
All right. And the second is, so the municipal roads general permit has a program called Grants and Aid. And it's basically available every year, but you have to file a notice of intent. And the grant this year is looking like it's going to be around $22,500. Basically, we would need to spend $4,500 in order to get the 22.5. It's 18,000. It's anticipated that's what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So we do this every year, and we just need authorization or a motion to authorize Dan to sign the letter of intent.
Right, I move that we authorize Dan to sign the letter of intent to participate in the SF
State fiscal
year 24 municipal roads grants and aid program. Thank you.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 2-0. It does say representative, so I left room for you to sign too.
Okay. Bridge 7 and Mountain Road grant. So Kurt's here to join us. I can just bring you up to speed. So I tallied up so we received a design grant for $31,500 to do the redesign of Bridge 7. And I tallied up all the invoices and we're there. So we've spent enough money. We've actually spent $600 over to qualify to get the whole 31.5. So we've done our match, which was 10% match. So I'm ready to file the paperwork for reimbursement for that, and we'll get reimbursed. You authorized when Kurt was here last time to apply for a structures grant, a construction structures grant. So we've done that. The predicament we're in is we have this $200,000 grant that we accepted for Mountain Road. I've been told by Jim Coda that if we gave up that grant or just gave that money back, we haven't received any money, obviously, but if we relinquished that grant, it would move our standing from 29 to 12th place in line. So typically he's anticipating on giving out like 8 or so grants this year, structures grants, but he wasn't sure. He did indicate that it's possible we could get the grant this year. Possible, depending on what the other requests are. So these are sort of structures of any kind. I'm assuming that could be box culverts. Not all of them are $1 million bridges, right? So, and I don't think you should make this decision tonight without Bob present, because it should be a full board, in my opinion.
I believe that's true.
But I think that the smart thing, and I've talked with Cricket McClusker, who's our engineer. She did the design on Mountain Road. She did the design on Bridge 7. Jim Coda, and we're kind of all in kind of agreement that it probably would be a wise move to relinquish that grant, get in a better position for Pleasant Valley. If not this year, we would probably, I mean, we've said this before, but we'd be certainly guaranteed next year if we were 12th place. And I asked Jim, I said, would we retain, if we gave up that grant, would we retain our standing in 12th place? He said yes. So anything more to add, Kurt? But that's kind of what we know at this point.
Yeah, I guess the questions I have is, we have $200,000 committed to the town for use to repair or replace the Mountain Road Bridge. And if we turn it back to the state, now we're in a position where maybe we do, maybe we don't. I think they're pretty likely going to award us something in the next year or two. I don't know if we've asked how long would it be before Bridge 7 would be re-awarded. We probably should try and find that out so that we know where it gets positioned.
Well, he did indicate that it's very possible we could get it awarded this year.
Yeah.
The other catch here is that Kurt and I are kind of anticipating that the grant awards are going to go up a little bit. We would hope it'd be more than 200,000. So that's another thing to consider. Say all of a sudden now the structures grant goes to 300,000, right? Well, we've gotten 200,000, but if you gave that up, you'd get an extra 100,000, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's intriguing.
It's intriguing, but it's a gamble.
But the important thing is the Mountain Road project can wait. That's according to our engineer.
Yes, and it's possible. She thinks that it's possible. We've got one wing wall that's kind of failing, separating from the abutment. It's a box culvert. It's a big old box culvert that was poured in the 50s.
All 4 wing walls are separated.
Okay.
Every one of the wing walls has come apart from the main abutment. And then in addition, the downstream side closest to Casey's Hill has a very large piece that is broken away that then caused the deck to crack lengthwise. So it's not in good shape, but because of the way it was built, it's likely it'll hold up. And that's based on not my presumption, but rather talking with Cricket. But there are major concerns with that bridge too, which is why I brought up earlier that, we got approved for that last year, and the state knows the condition of the bridge, and they awarded us 200,000 to go towards.
Well, we didn't have a structures. We didn't have the design. We went through. We got this.
Correct.
We hadn't completed a design
for Bridge 7.
Right.
Correct.
And it hadn't been re-inspected.
Yeah. Last year we got awarded the construction grant for Mountain Road, and we got a design grant that was what went towards Bridge 7.
I'm not saying it's not critical, but I think Bridge 7 supersedes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has in the last 5 years degraded tremendously more than what's happened on Mountain Road. If you look at Mountain Road, it looks similar year after year. The wing walls look like, especially the one Brad's pointing out, like they're giving up more ground, but the bridge itself looks like before our time when we got involved in it in terms of the current committee. Back 10, 12 years ago, it was damaged, and it looks to be pretty steady state since then. I haven't noticed a lot of deterioration. It doesn't get a lot of salt there. It doesn't get the traffic that
And it's
Bridge
got
7
a
gets.
lot of cover over the top of it.
Right.
I actually surveyed it for the design, and I was in it. It's really thick. It's
Yes.
thick, old 50s
Yep.
concrete.
Yep.
Cricket did say that if we did have to do some temporary repairs, that it would be possible for not a whole lot of money. But I'm thinking that, Kurt and I were talking on the phone, is maybe it would be a good idea in the meantime, to wait until Bob comes back. But in the meantime, get Cricket out there again. Let's get inside that thing, get another good look at it. Think about it again.
Yeah. And the state should be motivated to help us on that bridge too, because it services their state park that gets a lot of traffic during the summer and fall time. So they're motivated too.
Well, that's the other thing too, is now maybe by doing that, you might be able to really pursue, asking Forest and Parks for some help. It services the state park. And maybe there's some money, infrastructure money that they have.
Can't hurt to ask.
Can't hurt to ask.
Yeah,
I
I think we've been down that road before with the state parks, and they don't have money to hand to a municipality for that type of thing. They send you to VTRANS for support on that. Now, obviously, that would be taken into consideration that it's helping feed a state.
Could have been why the grant was issued originally.
Might be.
Right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
They kind of looked at it and said, oh, this serves the state park.
We were actually a little bit surprised. I mean, the very first year we applied, we got it. I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah, we were not expecting it.
So that may have had some influence that we didn't realize.
It's tough because, sure, you'd love to do them both, but we're talking money that we just don't. And then the other option that Jim Coda brought up is, you could go the federal route, get on the federal list, but that's a minimum of 7 years.
Right.
90% funding, but they'd have to pretty much re-engineer it.
Right.
And then now we're in this federal oversight again.
Yeah, I think we took you guys through this probably a couple of years ago. Might have been when you weren't town administrator, where we talked about pros and cons of going down a structures grant, which would cover a couple $100,000 out of what at the time was going to be 500, 600,000. And then the other option was to go to the state for federal money, where like we'd have to pay 50,000 total. And we just decided collectively that we can't wait that long.
Right.
And so, in any attempt to repair that bridge, we've had conversations with Cricket and Tyler Billingsley, and it's just been very clear. Don't even attempt, because the moment you start ripping and tearing on that, the whole thing could crumble on you. So we just feel the best part is, as soon as possible, get some state funding. The town's going to have to take on considerable debt load for like a 20-year bond note to manage that expense. But clearly, Bridge 7 is our priority. Hopefully, Jim and the rest of his counterparts are in sync with that and can figure out some way to get that one up on the list higher. I was kind of surprised that they couldn't move it higher than it was, because on the RPC, the Transportation Advisory Committee that I'm a member of, they had worked with the state on what was the order of bridges in Chittenden County. And that one was like number 3 or 4 for Chittenden County. So I don't know why, and District 5 isn't just Chittenden County, it's a different mix of communities. So I don't know why it's placed 29th on the list. To me, it was like, how does that happen when it was so high up on the list for the RPC bridges?
But I think it's something good for you to be thinking about till the next meeting, and then we get some more information. But I'm kind of wondering, we submitted the structures grant on the 15th was the due date, April 15th. So I'm wondering, we may not want to, if you're gonna make the decision to give the 200 back, we may not want to wait too long, because that might influence the decision on, I'm not sure when do they usually award the?
Usually by the end of May, early June, we hear from them.
So, but they know that you're contemplating that.
I'm certainly supportive of that move.
Yeah, April 15 was the deadline for submitting them. We put it in, I think, the last week of April, so they've had it for a few weeks now.
Yeah, March rather, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they know, I've been talking with Jim Coda. He also concurs that, he's seen Mountain Road, obviously. He said he's been out there, I think.
He may have. I haven't taken him to Mountain Road.
But if that makes sense, we'll get Cricket maybe out to get a fresh look at it and see how it wintered.
I think that's a good idea, just to make sure we're still operating with the same.
Before we make the final decision.
And were you able to follow up with Cricket on the French's request?
I did. I haven't heard back from her yet.
Oh, yeah, she sent a note back.
Oh, she did. What did she say?
Basically, that unloaded trucks infrequently using a bridge, having knowledge that the bridge has got some issues, is more than fine.
Okay.
Very reasonable and more than fine.
I will, and it's going to be very infrequent, I think, because I saw the Frenches today. They go this way. But there may be some work north, and they're so conscientious. If we tell them, hey, just go really slow over it, and they assured us it'd be empty. So that's good news.
Excellent.
Yeah, she just sent that this afternoon.
Excellent.
So yeah, as I said, we'll get 31.5 back into the coffers, 31,500 back into the coffers here soon. So I'm ready to submit for the reimbursal. And we have all the documents. It's ready to go. It's shovel ready to go.
Okay. Do you need anything from us to authorize, or?
No, I don't think so. I usually I look at there's no signature for you, but I want like detailed invoices and proof of the work.
All the documentation. So
And I have it all in a nice, neat folder ready to go.
Yeah, so going back to the timing for release of funds for Bridge 7 potentially, maybe it does make sense. When is Bob back in town?
He's back Monday.
I wonder if it makes sense to have you guys have a special meeting and put that in front of the three of you so that we can get that into Jim Coda's hands before they get too far down the road of
That was
this
just
one,
a
that
thought,
one.
but I kind of like
Because your
Cricket
next-
to,
If
We
she
can
had
probably do
time to
that.
go check the mountain.
In the meantime-
road abutment, yeah, I
And
think
she's
that would
usually
make
pretty
sense.
good at getting back to us on that.
because say we get down there and it's like, whoa, what happened? You know,
Exactly.
right?
And we can take a look at it, you and I,
Yeah,
at some point in time, just to get a sense, but have her put.
I think I took photographs of it too when I did it. I did. Yeah, I have photographs. When I surveyed it.
I have them from a year ago when we submitted it, so.
I have it when I actually surveyed, so we've
So
got some history.
The next meeting is May 11th, our regular meeting.
And
I
you're
have
not
a
going to be here.
I have a conflict that night.
I'm hoping that when Bob gets back, and I don't want to bug him on vacation, but when he gets back, that maybe we could set up, I don't know if you're
Quick special meeting.
a special meeting, maybe in between that would take care of maybe substitute the regular meeting. I don't know.
I mean, I'm around those 2 weeks, if it's possible to do that.
Yeah, we could probably do that. Either, I don't know if we could substitute, but
Well, not substitute, but say you could basically reschedule the regular meeting to,
Pull it up a week or something.
yeah, like it's, so the regular meeting's on the 11th. So maybe you could have it, we can't have it on Thursday, the 4th, because the class 4 roads hearing is here. But I guess I could discuss it with Bob and see, but if you had some dates of when you're available, if you could just email it to me or text it to
Are
me.
they going to the class 4 roads thing?
No.
Could we have it in a different part of the building?
Yeah, I have to be here.
Oh,
for the
you have
class
to be for
four,
class
yeah,
four,
but
okay.
it's up to you. You guys could.
well, we talked about those two dates, Tuesday or
And Wednesday.
Or Wednesday. Tuesday earlier, but if we have a regular meeting, it would take longer than we.
It'd have to be later Tuesday. Well, Bob said, I posed the question to him for Tuesday. Remember when I was talking with you, Patty, Tuesday at 5:30, and he said he wasn't available. So it'd have to be Wednesday, I'm thinking.
Okay, we can do Wednesday later.
So the 9th or the 10th? The 10th, you're talking
No, I'm talking,
the 3rd.
oh, so when are you leaving for, when are you gone from, or starting?
I don't have I'm not away in May. I have like weekend trips, but nothing.
But you're away on the 11th, or you can't
The
be?
11th, I have a work meeting at night, so
Okay.
Barton public hearing.
Yep. But you would be available, so we could do, if Wednesday didn't work, we could do Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. 8th, 9th, or 10th.
I could do 9th, 10th, 9th or the 10th. I can't do Monday, the 8th, I've got a VCBB meeting.
Dan?
I could do the 10th.
Well, let me check with Bob when he gets back.
Yeah, that might be a good way to do it. And then we don't have to have a special meeting next week.
Right, then we could just, yeah, we get it in between, satisfy, you get full board, and it might work
Well, it's
well.
not that much between, it's just one day.
Right, but it's, yeah.
Right.
All right, that sounds good. Good, I think so, but yeah, appreciate it. I'll get a hold of Cricket. I'll shoot her an email.
Okay.
See if she can, or if you want to give her a buzz. Yeah, you want to do it, because I was taking tomorrow off.
Yeah, let me send them out.
Okay. Awesome.
Any days that work better, work for you?
Anytime during the day, I'm here. Yeah.
I'll take care.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kirk.
So 7:39, and I've got Alliance Mechanical gave us a quote. So the furnace down there, it had some old circuitry. Taco circulator zone controllers. And basically they're like shorting out and it's messing up our hot water and the heat. It's just not acting right. So they gave us a quote to do the work that you see.
That doesn't have anything, we just had.
Nothing to do with the furnace. The furnace was new, but a lot of the controllers and all that stuff were old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing to do with the new equipment we put in, but it's just the controlling units and the mixing valves and all that stuff. Basically, I think they just replaced the furnace. We had an old oil furnace, put a gas furnace in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something it's necessary that we do. It's not optional.
Well, it's just not working right. I mean, we have go days on end, no hot water, and you can't have that in a public building. You need hot water for the bathrooms and for the kitchen and for, I mean, it's not critical we do it immediately, but it needs to be done.
It needs to be done for the heating season anyway, once heating.
Well, yeah, and basically our hot water is heated through the furnace, so unless we, canned all that and got an electric hot water heater. But
Did we get any other quotes? Or do you think this?
no, they did Sherry thought these were the guys, they're the ones that did the work.
A heat pump water heater.
Yeah, we don't have to act on this like immediately. We can.
I think a heat pump water heater would be advantageous because you don't use the boiler at all.
The only problem is we can't put it in the, it has to be in the, network room. Because that's where the hot water goes. So it can't be in the boiler room, unfortunately.
It doesn't have to be in the boiler room. You just have to have clearance.
Isn't it better in the boiler room because it's hotter in there?
No, it just has to have air.
Right, but isn't it advantageous to have warmer air?
No.
No? Okay.
And it, because if the boiler is off, you don't get warmer air, and it provides air conditioning.
Of course, we have heat pumps for air conditioning, but
right, but it does keep things cool.
All right, I can do. We can check on that.
Yeah, check on that. That would be a better ecological and probably over the long run save some money on fuel.
But yeah, not having
That's very true.
not having hot water in a public building is a no-no, I think. But
That's a good point. The heat pump might be really fit the ticket. It's limited hot water needs. It's not like you have people bathing here.
Then the furnace isn't running in the summer.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm all for that.
That would be a good thing but it has to be a room that's open enough where you can get air in.
Okay.
I mean, you can't have it in a closed, tight quarter.
Yeah. But these repairs come, not all the time, but we get them, and they're
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And usually they need to be done, otherwise we wouldn't do it.
Understood.
It's just what he said, because we had the technicians out. I think they were out here 3 times with no hot water. And it was, they kept, finally the last guy that came diagnosed and said, oh, these circuit boards are like, you could see where it was burnt and just not functioning properly. So I don't know if it's a safety issue either, but I'll see. I'll do a little more homework on it.
Thank you.
So the Underhill Center Post Office. So I went over one day and it's one of our official posting places, and the bulletin board was stripped of everything, all our notices, everything. And basically the sheet that states that only federal documents can be on the board. So even though we own the building, we lease it to the post office. So they basically control the building. So our days of posting there are done.
Is that a legitimate
Yep.
thing?
Yep. And actually I talked
So
to
we can't do it in the flats either.
We don't do it in the flats.
Huh.
We use Jacob's store. So our official our posting places are the town hall, the Underhill Center Post Office, Jacob's store. So we've lost one. And actually, I talked to Ty at the Flats Post Office, and he said that they can actually get reprimanded when, you know, people are posting stuff, and if an inspector comes from the Postal Service, you know, they get reprimanded because they're supposed to keep it clean of all. And so the board was all clean, and right in the middle was the law, you know, that states this is federal property and no posting should be, or no posting except official post office business or federal stuff.
Right.
So that leaves us to, so I've been like brainstorming, like, well, where are we going to post? You know, we need a third place by law. So I thought maybe we could use the park in Underhill Flats. Because we have the post office, or here, town hall, right? It's in the center. I know it's not everybody goes in Jacob's store, so this would be like right in the triangle there. We get a unit like we have out here and install it there.
Can we post at the church?
Yeah, any public place, I guess we could.
Is that public?
Well, is it a public place?
Don't
Is
know.
it public? Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Want to be a little careful there, maybe,
Yeah,
but
that's true. As that came out of my mouth. Maybe pull that back.
but we could certainly. You know, we don't have the right of way either there. So in the park, I mean, the sidewalk's there. People are walking by. It might be, I don't know. It might get more notice there than. It needs to be within the municipality too, so it needs to be in Underhill.
I'm in support of the park. Unless you can think of some other place that trumps that.
I mean, you could do the pond, or like, that's kind of who goes over there in the winter. Nobody.
Right, exactly. I think the park would be good exposure. It's a good idea.
So I haven't got any quotes, but I think those signs are around $1,000. So I'm gonna need one of those. But it's not like, you know, it's not like there's any negotiation. We need another public place. So, and it wouldn't be wise to just do something temporary and then switch it. It'd be nice to just do it once and for all and say, this is now our official place.
What do you think about the park?
yeah, I think that's an option. Yeah, you know, make more sense. It's close to Jacob's store. We wouldn't need one in this park because we have one right across the street.
I know. Technically, I was kind of talking with Joe, and for now, we can probably technically post it inside the town hall and then outside on the board. It's kind of two places, but it's the same place.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe a stretch, but
Check with Joe on that.
yeah. I mean, it's summertime. We could, you know, I did talk with him about it. And we're checking in. So, you know, the legislature did the provision for remote meetings. You know how they pushed that out till like 2024. The problem is when I read the law, it said that we could substitute 2 electronic places for the 2 physical places. But then at the end, it said, and the municipality shall supply a copy to the local newspaper of circulation, which is a free press, which we'd get billed like $200 every time we put a posting up. So that was poorly written, or they didn't realize what they were doing.
Put it in the sharing shed.
That's not a bad idea.
that
For the
it's
summer?
protected. You don't need
I
to,
like that.
for the summer.
For the summer, and then till we can figure out.
Yeah.
I like that. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Put it
Public
underneath the
place.
roof. Just I've got an extra cork board. Just stick it up under the roof there.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
That would be an inexpensive.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
Yeah.
So not as our official, but as an interim.
It's temporary, exactly.
Okay.
Good.
So I guess you kind of should have a motion and I'll change it on the website so people are aware.
For the park?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion. I move that we change our third public posting location to, what's the name of the park?
Moore Park,
To Moore Park.
food sharing shed.
Oh, this one, you mean?
Yeah, Moore Park food sharing shed.
This is the interim, though. All right, let me change the motion. I move we make a temporary interim posting location at the food sharing shed across from Town Hall at Moore Park.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was a mouthful.
That motion carries 2-0.
Do you guys want to do the warrants and minutes? I'll run downstairs and doctor up this document quick.
Easier for you too.
Okay. Thanks.
So we have a closing public comment period, and I see nobody. And I'm not hearing anything. So we will move on to warrants and minutes. I move that we approve the warrants for 4/27/2023. It's the AP warrants. Is there a second?
This is the payroll, right?
No, this is the AP warrants.
I had a question on the towing service.
Yeah, the explanation, that the narrative that was on that really helped.
Didn't see that.
And the towing is just
Is it in here?
when they,
Oh, it's in Jen's thing.
yeah, it's in Jensen.
Didn't see that.
But anytime you call those big trucks out, it's incredibly expensive. I think it's $2,000 minimum.
Do we know what happened?
Well, I thought the narrative that was included
I didn't see that.
was pretty explanatory. It's right there. So that long thing.
This one right here?
Yeah. It's that long paragraph that really explains it pretty well. And, it happens, I guess. And it's not an expense that we can debate about.
All right, I'm all set.
But it really is exceptional, isn't it?
It's quite a tow. Can't call AAA for that.
Yeah, by AAA membership wouldn't cover it.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The AP warrants are approved. The payroll warrants, I move that we approve those for 4/27/2023. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 2-0. And I move that we approve the select board meeting minutes for the meeting held on Thursday, April 13th, 2023. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that?
Nope, not for me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those meeting minutes are approved. Thank you, Donna. So we have member items, correspondence, announcements.
I prepared a letter, thank you letter for Amy Gallaudet,
Yeah,
like we talked about
we-
last time, so
I passed that on.
I don't know, just a little simple thing, but
Yeah, it looked good.
it's a thought that counts.
It was in the two things that I.
Oh, okay. Is that subgrant agreement over there too? Oh, no, I have that. I'm sorry, I have that.
It's okay.
Okay, I just wanted to read, just to rehash what I wrote here. Therefore, the other measures.
Microphone went out? Oh,
What's that?
sorry, just for a second, it sounded like your microphone went out, but I can hear you.
Oh, no, maybe I had the paper in front of it, sorry.
Thanks.
Okay, therefore, the Underhill Selectboard respectfully requests VTRANS to lower the speed limit and/or consider other measures in order to improve the overall safety along this section of State Highway.
That's good.
Sorry, thanks.
Okay. Any, so we don't know if the regular select board meeting is scheduled for May 11th. It is scheduled for then, but we bump that. I don't have any other correspondence or announcements.
Neither do I. Do you have any other announcements, Brad?
We do have I put out 2 front porch forum posts that the Class 4 Road Study Committee will be having a public comment period for an hour. So if anyone who lives on a Class 4 road or doesn't live on a Class 4 road or has an opinion about a Class 4 road is welcome to come and state it. So they're getting very close to finishing their work. This is kind of one of the last steps.
Very good.
They've met many, many times. I think we've had.
You did field trips too.
We did field trips.
Busy.
Busy, yes. But
Good.
appreciate
Thank you
their
for
work.
that. We will stay tuned. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:57 PM.